When it comes to taxation, most people understand the basic process. HM Revenue and Customs issue a bill, and if you owe money, you're expected to pay. But what happens when you don't? Recently, HMRC have reintroduced one of its most controversial powers, the direct recovery of debts. This power allows HMRC to go directly into taxpayers' bank accounts and take money owed without going through the courts first. The idea sounds like something out of a novel, but it's very real. If you owe over £1,000, you could find HMRC compelling your bank account or building society to hand over funds straight from your account. Even cash ISAs, which many people view as safe havens for savings, aren't protected from this measure. Critics are calling it draconian, while HMRC insists there are safeguards. The direct recovery of debts policy isn't brand new. It was first introduced back in 2015 under then Chancellor George Osborne. The aim was to target those who could afford to pay, but deliberately refuse. However, the power was paused during the COVID-19 pandemic, when financial hardship was widespread. The government announced in the Spring Statement 2025 that HMRC would restart the use of DRD for individuals and businesses who choose not to pay the tax they owe. HMRC paused the use of DRD during the COVID-19 pandemic and has now restarted in a test and learn phase. This gives HMRC enormous power, but also raises deep concerns about fairness, accuracy, and transparency. The DRD process essentially allows HMRC to bypass traditional debt collection routes and instead force a financial institution to pay them directly. If a taxpayer owes more than £1,000 in tax or tax credit debt, HMRC can order their bank or building society to hand over the funds. The policy, however, does not apply to those without the means to pay. HMRC stresses that it targets only those who can pay but refuse to. The controversial element here is that HMRC becomes both judge and collector. Unlike a normal debt dispute where a court ruling is required, DRD allows HMRC to act unilaterally, provided certain safeguards are followed. While HMRC have tried to reassure the public, tax experts are still worried. The main issue is not whether tax should be paid, everyone agrees on that, but whether HMRC can be trusted to always get it right. Mike Warburton, the Telegraph's tax expert, said, "I'm very concerned about this development. Clearly, taxpayers should pay the tax that is properly due, but I do not have the confidence that HMRC will always get it right. I recognise that there are safeguards in place, but this is really the thin edge of a wedge leaning towards a very dangerous development." This gives HMRC enormous power, but also raises deep concern about fairness, accuracy, and transparency. Critics state that the heart of the issue remains. HMRC already struggles with errors, delays, and backlogs. What happens if money is wrongly taken from taxpayers' accounts? While there is an appeal process, recovering wrongly taken money could still take time and cause unnecessary hardship. HMRC insists there are safeguards in place to prevent mistakes causing hardship. But what exactly are these safeguards? And can they be trusted to work in practice? Let us go through these safeguards as outlined in the government's own policy briefing. Section 4 of the issue briefing, direct recovery of debts. HMRC says there are strong protections in place so that people aren't unfairly treated when money is taken from their bank accounts. They stress that the action will only be taken against those who have established debts, have passed the timetable for appeals, and have repeatedly ignored our attempts to make contact before any money is taken. Every debtor will receive a face-to-face visit from HMRC agents before their debts are considered for recovery through the DRD. At that meeting, HMRC explains the debt, discusses repayment options such as a time to pay plan, and checks if the debtor is in a vulnerable position. Only people who are not identified as vulnerable, have enough money in the bank, and still refuse to pay will face direct recovery. HMRC makes it clear that they will only consider the use of DRD on those with tax and tax credit debts of more than £1,000 and will always leave a minimum of £5,000 in the debtor's account. There are also safeguards if someone disagrees with HMRC's actions. Debtors get a 30-day window once the debt recovery has been initiated for debtors to lodge an objection to HMRC and can also appeal to a county court if necessary. Finally, HMRC promises transparency. The commissioners of HMRC will maintain oversight of the use of the power, and statistics will be published on the number of times the power is used, and appeals are raised. Accountants and financial advisors are concerned about the reintroduction of these powers. They may warn that given HMRC these powers could damage trust between taxpayers and the tax authority. Dawn Registers of accountancy firm BDO said, "The relaunch of this draconian power underlines how important it is not to stick your head in the sand and ignore HMRC's demands." HMRC needs to strike the right balance between supporting businesses and individuals in genuine financial difficulty, while being assertive with those who can afford to pay but choose not to. The term draconian has come up repeatedly in commentary, highlighting how severe critics view this measure. To put this into perspective, the vast majority of taxpayers already pay what they owe. According to the official figures, HMRC collected $858.9 billion in tax last year alone. Most individuals and businesses pay on time and in full, meaning these new powers are directed at a minority. However, even if applied to a small number of cases, the precedent it sets is significant. The vast majority of taxpayers are compliant, but for those who fall into disputes with HMRC, whether justified or not, this policy could bring life-changing consequences. So what do you think? Is this a necessary tool to make sure everyone pays their fair share? Or is it, as critics claim, a draconian overreach that puts too much power in HMRC's hands? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more breakdowns.